The neon haze over Nerith for always looked like dusk trapped in glass. Red Voss preferred it that way, no dawns, no reminders of a world long gone. He sat beneath a flickering awning, hands blackened with machine oil, fixing a pulse regulator older than the Dominion itself. Across the stall, his daughter's laughter broke the drone of the market. "Papa, look what I found." Lyra, barely 12, darted between vendors with the reckless joy of someone who'd never known fear. She held up a scrap of fabric, frayed and faded but unmistakable. White stars against blue. Brett froze. "Where did you get that?" "A junk seller. Said it came from a wreck outside the rim." She grinned, proud of her find. "It's from Earth, isn't it?" He took the cloth gently, fingers trembling. The texture stirred memories buried beneath years of exile. Oceans, sunlight, the anthem he could no longer hum without feeling like a ghost. He forced a smile. "You shouldn't believe everything traders say. Come on, help me pack up." Lyra frowned, sensing the change in his tone. "You always say that." He didn't answer. His gaze drifted upward, past the sprawl of rusted towers to the sky lanes where Dominion ships patrolled like iron vultures. Lyra followed his eyes. "They won't come here, right?" "No," he said automatically. "Not for us." The lie barely left his lips before the sirens wailed. The market froze. Hovering above the plaza, a black and silver gunship cast a shadow across the crowd. Dominion insignia, 3 curved talons encircling a star, gleamed on its hull. Rhett's pulse spiked. He grabbed Lyra's hand. "Inside. Now." Merchants scattered, stalls toppled. The ship's engine screamed as it descended. Rhett shoved open the door to their workshop, dragging her inside. "What's happening?" she cried. "They're scanning," he said, voice tight. "Don't move." He pressed a hidden panel behind the tool rack. A narrow compartment slid open, barely enough space for her small frame. Lyra hesitated. "Papa." "Inside, Lyra." She obeyed, eyes wide. He sealed the hatch and turned toward the doorway. The air vibrated with the hum of energy rifles. A squad of Dominion soldiers stormed the shop. They were tall, armored in obsidian plates, faces masked behind reptilian visors. The leader's voice rasped through a translator. "Citizen. Genetic sweep in progress. Step aside." Rhett raised his hands. "I'm just a mechanic." A scanner flickered across his chest, clean. Then the soldier turned toward the sealed panel. Residual biosign detected. Rhett's mind raced. He needed seconds, maybe less. "Old circuits," he bluffed. "Tools and metal." The soldier fired. The panel exploded in sparks. Smoke filled the air. Lyra screamed. Rhett lunged. He caught the nearest rifle, twisted, fired point blank. The soldier fell, armor smoking. The others reacted instantly, plasma bolts tearing through the walls. Rhett dove behind the counter, dragging his sidearm from beneath the bench. 1 shot. 2. Then a concussive blast threw him backward. When his vision cleared, the world was fire and metal. The compartment lay open, empty. The sound of engines thundered outside. Through the shattered window, Rhett saw the gunship rising, a small silhouette struggling in a soldier's grasp. Lyra. He ran into the street, shooting blindly at the retreating ship. Plasma seared the air, useless against the hull. Lyra. The vessel climbed higher, vanished into the gray clouds. Silence followed. He stood motionless, chest heaving. Around him, the market lay in ruin. Fragments of the flag fluttered at his feet, half-burned. Slowly, he knelt, picking it up. His fingers clenched until his knuckles whitened. A metallic clink echoed from behind him. A soldier, not quite dead, crawling, weapon raised. Rhett turned and fired once more. The alien dropped. Only then did he notice the exposed floor beneath the wreckage of his stall. The blast had torn open a hidden compartment, revealing something wrapped in a weathered tarp. He knelt, unrolled it. The mask stared back. White ceramic, cracked along the jaw, shaped like a human skull. Beneath it lay the matte-black combat armor of a dead age. The emblem of the Earth Alliance still faintly glimmered on the chestplate. He hadn't touched it in 20 years. He'd sworn never to again. But the Dominion had taken his daughter. He heard her voice echoing faintly in memory. "It's from Earth, isn't it?" He reached out, lifted the mask. The interior smelled faintly of dust and oil. Old Ghost stirred. He rose, slipping the strap over his head. The ceramic clicked into place with a hiss of recycled air. The voice from the past whispered through the neural link, his own, years younger. Mission designation: Skull Mask. Status: active. Rhett exhaled, steady and cold. He moved through the burning market like a shadow, looting fallen soldiers for codes and devices. The crowd parted in silence, too afraid to speak. One alien child pointed at him, trembling. "Is he human?" Red ignored them. At the docking bay, he commandeered a scout skimmer, overriding its Dominion locks with a sequence buried deep in his muscle memory. "Papa," Lyra had said once, "why do you never look at the stars?" "Because they look back," he told her. Now the stars blazed across his visor as the skimmer lifted from the ground. The Dominion gunship's contrail glowed faintly to the east, heading toward orbit. He accelerated, engines howling. The skull mask sensors synced with the Dominion beacon frequencies. Lyra's genetic signature pulsed faintly, alive, but fading as the ship ascended. He set his jaw. "You took the wrong child." The skimmer shot through the upper atmosphere, chasing the burning trail. Clouds split apart under the thrust. Static crackled in his earpiece as the Dominion fleet came into range. Massive ships like floating fortresses, their hulls black as night. At the center hung the flagship Obsidian Lance, a city of war suspended in orbit. Rhett's console warned him, unidentified craft approaching restricted airspace. Immediate termination authorized. He smiled beneath the mask. "Try it." Two interceptors broke formation to engage. Rhett veered into the shadow of a debris field, using the asteroid fragments as cover. His fingers danced across the controls, rerouting power to forward shields. Plasma bolts streaked past, carving light through darkness. He fired once. One interceptor erupted in flame. The second closed in, firing relentlessly. Rhett waited, then killed his engines, letting the skimmer drift. The alien overshot. In a single motion, he reignited the thrusters, rammed the enemy ship broadside, and ejected moments before the explosion. The shockwave flung him toward the Dominion's outer hangar. His exosuit sealed automatically, jetpacks stabilizing his fall. The hull loomed ahead, smooth, obsidian, bristling with weapon turrets. He landed hard, magnet boots locking onto the metal. Rhett stared at the towering insignia of the Dominion carved into the plating. Beneath it, he saw faint engravings left by older battles, scars from human weapons long turned to dust. He drew a deep breath, eyes burning behind the visor. "Lyra," he whispered, voice calm now, deadly steady. "Hold on." Then, activating the breaching module on his gauntlet, he cut through the hull with a hiss of molten metal. As the seal gave way and the black corridors of the Obsidian Lance yawned before him, the galaxy quietly remembered a name it had hoped to forget. The skull mask had returned. The corridors of the Obsidian Lance were a maze of steel veins pulsing with alien light. Rhett moved through them like a ghost. The mask's HUD mapped the structure in faint green outlines, life signs, patrol routes, heat signatures. Dominion soldiers marched in perfect rhythm, unaware of the intruder crawling beneath their feet. He crouched inside a maintenance conduit, breath slow and controlled. Every sound mattered. The hum of reactors below, the distant clang of boots, the heartbeat of the ship. Through the visor feed, he caught glimpses of what the Dominion had become: sterile, efficient, inhuman. They'd erased the chaos that once gave war a soul. For them, control was purity. For Rhett, it was suffocation. He reached a junction, pried open a vent, and dropped into a storage bay. A low thud followed. He froze, weapon ready. From the shadows emerged a small alien, eyes glowing faint blue. A creamy, spindly, and frail, half mechanical from labor implants. The creature froze when it saw him. "You human?" it whispered. Rhett hesitated, then lowered his weapon slightly. You're going to forget you saw me. The Creenie blinked rapidly. Impossible. You wear the mask. The ghost's mask. Then pray it's only a ghost. But the Creenie didn't run. It stepped closer, voice trembling. You seek the child. They took her to the upper decks, Sector 7L, research hold. Admiral Tull watches her himself. Rhett's fingers tightened on the rifle. How do you know that? I clean the blood floors, the Creenie said softly. No one hears the ones who die there. He stared at the creature for a moment. Show me the access route. The Creenie's thin hand pointed toward a freight lift across the bay. You can reach it if you cross the coolant conduits. But the bioscanners. I'll handle them. As Rhett turned to leave, the Creenie called out. The others will see your signal. They'll whisper the old name.
He paused.
What name? The Reaper of Glass. The one who burned the sky. He didn't respond. He didn't need to. The lift hummed as it rose through the ship's core. Rhett used the moment to patch into the Dominion's internal comms. His Neuralink overrode encryption keys with military precision long thought lost. Across the mask's interface, messages flickered. Subject 07 identified. Human origin confirmed. Prepare for genetic extraction. Lyra. He forced the emotion down. Emotion led to hesitation. Hesitation killed. But beneath the discipline, something darker stirred, the slow burn of a father's fury. The lift halted. The doors opened to a sterile hallway bathed in white light. Dominion officers glided past, robes whispering against metal. Rhett slipped into a side corridor, keeping to the shadows. The mask projected false heat signatures to mislead scanners. Through the comms, voices echoed. Alien cadences clipped and sharp. He followed them until a viewport revealed a massive chamber beyond glass partitions. Rows of containment pods lined the walls, each holding fragments of anatomy, labeled in cold alien glyphs. At the center, restrained on a medical platform, was Lyra. She was conscious, her face pale under the sterile light. Tubes connected to her veins, feeding data into crystalline consoles. And standing beside her, tall and draped in command armor, was Admiral Vracoin Tull. Rhett zoomed in through the visor. The Admiral's scales shimmered dark green, ridged with silver, eyes cold as obsidian. He spoke with deliberate calm. Your species was chaos, Tull said to Lyra, his voice a reptilian growl smoothed by translation. Yet your blood carries symmetry, perfect adaptability. The Dominion will use it to evolve. You should be honored. Lyra's voice cracked. You're hurting me. Tull tilted his head. Pain is the language of progress. Rhett's control wavered. Every instinct screamed to storm in, but he forced himself to wait. A direct assault would end her before he reached the door. He needed leverage. Scanning the lab's network, he found the ship's central cooling line routed below the floor. A detonation there would vent the section into lockdown, giving him 60 seconds of chaos. He planted a charge, synced it with his visor, and whispered, Hold on, kid. The explosion tore through the ship like thunder. Lights flickered. Sirens howled. Tull barked orders as guards rushed toward containment seals. Rhett moved through the confusion, slipping through emergency doors before they sealed. Inside the lab, smoke and steam filled the air. Rhett emerged from the haze, rifle raised. Tull turned, recognizing the mask instantly. His voice dropped to a hiss. It cannot be. The skull mask died with Earth. Guess extinction didn't take, Rhett said. Lyra's eyes widened. Papa, close your eyes, baby. The nearest guards opened fire. Rhett moved faster than they could track. Plasma bolts hit the floor as he weaved through them, shots precise and economical. 1, 2, 3 dead before they hit the ground. Tull retreated behind the control podium. You're a ghost, he snarled. A relic of a failed species. Funny, Rhett said, shattering the podium with a burst. You're afraid of ghosts. He reached Lyra, slicing through her restraints. She fell into his arms, trembling. I knew you'd come. Always. An alarm blared overhead. Containment breach in Sector 9. Security lockdown initiated. Rhett lifted her onto his shoulder. We're leaving. Tal's voice echoed through the intercoms. Seal the decks. The human dies with his spawn. Rhett sprinted toward the exit as blast doors dropped one after another. He slid beneath the last one just before it sealed. Behind him, containment gas hissed into the lab. Lyra coughed weakly. They'll chase us. They can try. He ducked into a maintenance corridor, footsteps echoing against metal. Through the visor feed, he saw squads converging ahead. Too many to fight straight through. He tapped the comm unit. Creanie, I need an exit. Static, then a faint reply. North maintenance hatch. I open it for you. Hurry, Reaper. They reached the hatch as Dominion troops turned the corner. Rhett shoved Lyra through the vent first, then followed, sealing it behind them. Laser fire scorched the walls. Inside the shaft, heat pressed from every direction. The smell of coolant and oil filled the air. Rhett crawled, pushing Lyra ahead. Her voice was a whisper. Papa, you're bleeding. Doesn't matter. He could feel the cut across his side, hot and sharp. The armor seal held, barely. After several turns, they dropped into a narrow cargo tunnel. The Creanie waited near a small transport pod. Take it. It will eject through the waste chute. Leads to the lower hangar. Rhett set Lyra inside, gripping the alien's arm. You helped me. Why? The Creanie blinked. The Dominion forgets mercy. You remind us what it looked like. Rhett nodded once. Get clear. He sealed the pod and hit the release. The mechanism clanged, launching them through a spiral chute. The pod rattled violently, metal scraping against the shaft. Outside, the alarms dimmed. Lyra leaned against him, exhausted. Papa, are we going home? He looked out the small viewport at the void beyond. We don't have one, but we'll make one. The pod burst into the hangar bay. Rhett grabbed a fallen guard's weapon, cleared a path to the nearest shuttle, and slammed the controls. Through the blast doors, the cold stars beckoned, and beyond them, the endless dark. The shuttle drifted through the torn remains of what once had been a defense line, a graveyard of ships floating in the silence of deep space. Rhett powered down the engines and let momentum carry them. Dominion patrols prowled the nearby lanes, their scanners sweeping through the wreckage like hungry eyes. Inside the dim cockpit, Rhett adjusted the controls with steady precision. Lyra slept in the co-pilot seat, a blanket draped over her small frame. The light from the console flickered across her face. For the first time in years, she looked at peace. He allowed himself one deep breath before returning to work. The shuttle's AI was a stripped-down husk, Dominion-coded. He'd been rewriting its protocols piece by piece, turning their system into his own. His fingers danced across the holokeys, lines of alien script shifting into human code. A soft beep interrupted him. Lyra stirred. Papa. Easy, baby. We're safe for now. Her eyes opened slowly. Where are we going? Somewhere they won't follow. There's a listening post in the Rings of Vale, 9. Old resistance base. If anyone's left, they'll help us. She hesitated. What if no one's left? He gave a small smile beneath the mask. Then it's just us. And that's enough. She nodded, curling back into the blanket. But her next question was quiet, almost fragile. Why do they want me? Rhett paused. The truth wasn't something a child should carry. Because you're special. Because they're afraid of what you might become. That seemed to satisfy her, for now. She closed her eyes again, drifting back to sleep. Rhett turned his attention to the NAV systems. The coordinates for Vale, 9 glowed faintly, a world swallowed by dust storms and debris rings. He remembered the last time he'd been there, years before. They'd called it the Hush because nothing that entered the rings ever left with its signals intact. Perfect hiding place. 3 hours later, the shuttle descended into the rings, metal scraping against ice fragments the size of buildings. Static rippled through the comms as they passed through electromagnetic storms. Rhett's HUD flickered, but held steady. "Hold together," he muttered, tightening his grip on the yoke. Lightning arced across the hull, blinding white for a moment, then gone. Beyond the storm, a faint beacon pulsed, a single rhythmic flash. Old human encryption, buried deep. He felt something like relief. Still breathing, huh? He aligned the ship with the beacon and approached cautiously. Out of the swirling dust emerged a structure grafted into an asteroid, half station, half ruin. The metal bore scars of battle and time, but the docking lights still burned faint blue. "Automated systems still responding," he murmured. "That's a good sign." The shuttle clamped onto the port with a metallic groan. The airlock cycled slowly, stale oxygen hissing through vents. Rhett hoisted Lyra into his arms and stepped inside. The corridors were quiet, lined with flickering emergency lights. Dust floated in zero gravity, disturbed only by their movement. Old banners of the Terran resistance hung in tatters, symbols of a war long lost. "Papa," Lyra whispered, clutching his armor. "It smells like old metal." "That's because it is," he said softly. "But don't be afraid. This place remembers us." They reached the central chamber, a circular command hub filled with silent consoles. Rhett set Lyra down and began restoring power to the main core. Systems flickered to life one by one. A distorted voice burst from the speakers. "Identify yourself." "Skull mask," Rhett said flatly. "Authorization Echo 7. There was a pause. Then, faint laughter. "Impossible. Echo 7 died 2 cycles ago." "Guess you didn't get the memo." Another pause, shorter this time. "Prove it." Rhett removed his mask and looked directly into the nearest camera. The hollow sockets of the skull armor gave way to his human face, aged, scarred, and very much alive. A hiss of static. Then, the lights warmed. "Well, I'll be damned. The Reaper lives." From the shadows stepped a woman, tall, silver hair tied back, wearing a faded resistance jacket. Her eyes, sharp and dark, scanned him from head to toe. "Commander Juno," Rhett said, surprised. "I thought you went down with the Europa cell." "I almost did," she said, crossing her arms. "You've got a habit of cheating death." He smirked faintly. "Occupational hazard." Juno's gaze shifted to Lyra. "That the girl the Dominion wants so badly?" "Yes. My daughter." Juno's expression softened for the briefest moment. "You shouldn't have come here, Rhett. They've been sweeping the outer rings for months. You light up the sensors like a flare." "I didn't have a choice," he said. "They had her. They were experimenting on her blood." Juno exhaled sharply. "They're close to something, aren't they?" Rhett nodded. "They think she's the key to controlling human adaptation genes. A weapon that evolves faster than they can counter." "Then she's not just her daughter," Juno said grimly. "She's humanity's last edge." Lyra looked between them, confusion clouding her face. "I don't want to be a weapon." "You won't be," Rhett said, kneeling beside her. "You're going to live. That's all that matters." Over the next few hours, Rhett and Juno worked to strengthen the base's defenses. They reactivated the shield grid, masked heat signatures, and synced the outer cannons to manual control. As they worked, Juno filled him in. The Dominions pushing harder into the outer colonies. Every resistance signal's been silenced. We've got maybe a handful of cells left, all scattered. "They're consolidating," Rhett said. "Once they stabilize the gene project, they won't need soldiers anymore." "And you think you can stop them?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stared at the flickering hologram of Dominion space. Entire sectors glowed crimson, controlled, subjugated, erased. "I can't stop them," he said finally. "But I can hurt them. And I can make sure she never ends up back in their hands." Juno studied him. "You always were more stubborn than smart." That's what kept us alive. Before she could respond, an alarm pierced the air. The hologram shifted, Dominion signatures entering the outer ring. Juno's voice hardened. They found you. How many? 3 interceptors. Fast ones. Scanning pattern suggests a tracker beacon. Rhett cursed under his breath. The shuttle, of course. They must have tagged it before the escape. He turned to Juno. Get her to the escape hangar. I'll draw them off. She shook her head. You can't outfly Dominion hunters alone. I don't need to outfly them. I just need them to follow. He pulled the mask back over his face. The blue lights flared alive, cutting through the dim room. Lyra ran forward, grabbing his arm. Papa, don't leave me again. He knelt, pressing a hand to her cheek. I'll always come back. That's a promise. Her eyes filled with tears. You always say that. And I always mean it. He stood, turned, and strode toward the docking bay. The ship's sirens wailed as the Dominion vessels closed in. Through the viewport, he saw the glint of their hulls, sleek, black, hungry. Juno's voice came over the comm. Rhett, if this is goodbye, don't make it permanent. Wouldn't dream of it. He launched from the station, engines flaring bright against the dark. The Dominion interceptors immediately shifted course, locking onto his trail. Inside the cockpit, Rhett activated a transmission burst, a coded pulse of resistance encryption. A beacon to anyone left listening.